Welcome to Embrace Your Inner Boldness, the podcast dedicated to empowering you to live confidently, embracing all parts of who you truly are. I'm Melissa Henning-Frank, and I'm the founder, success coach, and consultant of Becoming Bold, LLC, and you can count on me to be your guide on this incredible journey of self-discovery and transformation. Let's get right to it. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Embrace Your Inner Boldness. Today, we're opening up a big can of personal development tips and inspirations that have shaped my growth. I'll be sharing wisdom from some of my favorite thought leaders. I'll cover everything from mindset to business savvy, boundary setting. I'll also share some personal stories, some life lessons learned, and coping strategies I've had plenty of experience with, as I'm all about helping to illuminate the path for others walking on it. You'll have to excuse the tone of my voice. I'm feeling pretty nasally right now. I'm getting over a cold. It seems like everybody is sick these days with so many different viruses, and I've not been feeling well, but today I've got some energy, and it's been a long time since I've made a podcast, so it felt like it was the right thing to do today. So hopefully it's not too annoying and too nasally. It kind of sounds that way to me, but hopefully it translates a little bit better than it's sounding right now. So let's dive right in. I want to talk about the early days of my personal development, where I lean towards really kind of understanding what makes people tick. I always wanted to know why people do the things they do, what causes them to do the things that they do, what shapes different personalities, and then overall just self-improvement. And these days, I gravitate towards books that kind of pull me along into understanding more about taking control of your mindset, spirituality, law of attraction, and all things empowerment and healing. So if you're into personal development, which of course you are if you're listening to this podcast, I have some fun recommendations I'm excited to share with you. And in no particular order, here are my favorite influencers, role models, tools, books, and podcasts from over the years. Let's kick things off with the incredible Mel Robbins and her Let Them theory. It's a simple and also very powerful concept, and it encourages us to let people be who they are. By releasing the need to control others and by accepting them as they are, we actually free ourselves from unnecessary stress, and then that helps create space for true, authentic connections with people. I mean, people are going to think and say what they're going to think and say, regardless of you trying to control any part of it. You can't change others, but you can change how you respond to them. So the premise here is to let them be and focus on your own growth. So when you find yourself in a moment where you feel triggered by what someone said or by what someone thinks of you or something they did, you say, let them, and I'm holding up my fingers in air quotes, and then you follow it up with a let me, also fingers in air quotes, continue to be me and stop worrying or giving a crap about what others think. Let them. Boom, mic drop. Get her book. Next up, we have a longtime favorite of mine, the relatable and fabulous Gabby Bernstein. And I want to talk about her guidance on the law of attraction and a therapy called internal family systems. If you haven't heard of her, you got to check her out. Her backstory is incredibly inspiring. She's really open about her struggles with addiction and how she pulled herself up and out of that and into her current amazingness. So let's start with what she says about manifesting and the law of attraction. Gabby teaches us the importance of aligning our thoughts and our beliefs and our actions with what we want, with our desires. So it's all about trusting the universe and co-creating your reality. Her wisdom has always resonated really deeply with me on my path of healing and self-transformation because she has been through it and she knows how to talk to people. Her teachings about surrendering to divine guidance and trusting the process really helped me find peace and purpose amidst challenges that I've experienced in my life. So whether it's through meditation, affirmations, tapping into our own intuition, visualization, the law of attraction and manifesting is a super powerful tool for attracting and co-creating with your higher power what you want into your life. What you think about consistently turns into what you believe, and then what you believe creates the reality that you're living. So it's really fascinating if you think about it, because we have so much more control than we even ever give ourselves credit for. So you've got to check that out. And then she also goes into a passion topic of hers called internal family systems, or IFS. And IFS is a therapeutic approach that's been a game changer for me. I haven't been officially counseled, or I haven't been to IFS therapy itself, but I've learned so much about it. And the cool thing is it teaches us to understand and heal the different parts of ourselves. And this helps us increase our self-compassion and our inner harmony. So by acknowledging and embracing all the aspects of our personality, or as IFS refers to it, our parts, we create a much more balanced and peaceful inner world. Internal family systems teaches us how to recognize our inner self, how to get to know our managers and how we respond, as well as making peace with our firefighters or our coping mechanisms. So her newest book, called Self-Help, goes into depth on this topic, and I'm about halfway through reading it as I speak. She also has her Dear Gabby podcast, where she takes calls from listeners and offers intuitive, amazing advice, really no matter what the issue is. So you got to check her out. Moving on to mindset philosophy, let's talk about Rob Dial, also known as the Mindset Mentor. He's got some really super easy to understand insights, philosophy, and guidance. And Rob really emphasizes the power of a growth mindset and the importance of continuous learning and self-improvement. So he frequently gives real-life examples and ideas for overcoming challenges in our lives. And the thought is, by shifting our mindset from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, it's going to help us open ourselves up to new possibilities and endless potential, which I love. My word for 2025 is limitless, and that falls right in line. And he also goes into detail about how your mindset shapes your reality and how you can choose to see challenges as opportunities for growth. So I'm telling you, his guidance is so relatable, and he's got one of those voices that just comes across really smooth and really positive. So check out his podcast called The Mindset Mentor. I love how he closes out each episode by saying, "Make it your mission to make someone's day better." Can you imagine if everyone made that their mission? Do we ever freaking need that in America? Next up, for all you entrepreneurs out there, Jenna Kutcher. Her business savvy tips are an incredible goldmine. So Jenna has a podcast as well called the Goal Digger Podcast. So not gold, but goal, like setting goals. And it's really good when you're trying to look for practical strategies for making a successful business, and while also just staying true to being who you are. So she gives information on marketing to branding, work-life balance, and she's actually very inspiring and actionable. So she gives you consistent tips on exactly what to do to get to where you need to go. So no matter what stage of entrepreneurship you're in, or even if you're just looking for ways to navigate your work life even better than you are, you're going to benefit from listening to her podcast and following her social media. And that said, if you're looking to take your business to the next level, Jenna's insights are what I would consider a must follow. I attended a free webinar of hers last October just to get a sneak peek of what it's like to launch a podcast. And after her webinar, I practically ran to her website to sign up for her podcast lab, which even offered a budget-friendly payment plan. So I devoured the podcast lab, and then I launched this podcast on November 18th, just a few short weeks after attending her free webinar. So she's the one to follow if you have any interest at all in entrepreneurship, in podcasting, growing your social media. She knows her stuff, and I swear it feels like meeting up with a friend when I listen to her podcast. Her confidence is contagious, and her knowledge is incredibly valuable. Now let's talk about the boundary boss, Terry Cole. Terry teaches us that healthy boundaries are crucial for maintaining our well-being and protecting our energy. She helps us understand the concept of being a high-functioning codependent and helps us move past our limiting beliefs and get ourselves out of being codependent. Boundary setting is something that I've definitely grown into, and I still have work to do, but it's getting easier. So by clearly defining our limits and communicating them assertively, we can create respectful and balanced relationships. It's so important to keep telling ourselves that setting boundaries is an act of self-love and respect. And it's not just self-love and respect for you, but it's also respecting your relationships and the people around you. So if boundaries are something that you struggle setting and keeping, if they're uncomfortable, you should check out her podcast, The Terry Cole Show, and get her book called The Boundary Boss. And then there's Brené Brown. I'm sure you've heard of her because her teachings on shame and empathy have been around for quite some time, and they definitely have had a profound impact on me personally. I can remember listening to her audiobook called I Thought It Was Just Me, But It Isn't. I would listen to this during my commute, and it really opened up my world when I was really deciding to dive into my own personal development. So Brené's research shows that vulnerability and empathy are the key to building meaningful connections and overcoming shame. If we can just embrace our imperfections and practice empathy, it helps us nurture deeper, more authentic relationships. So her work is an incredibly beautiful reminder that we're all worthy of love and belonging. If you struggle with perfectionism and need help reminding yourself that the reality is we're all human and nobody is perfect, and in fact, perfection is a myth, and you're striving to reclaim your power, Brené is the one to follow. Her books are very easy to read or to listen to, and I highly recommend starting with Brené on your personal development journey and then moving on from there. Her guidance was exactly what I needed to spark my own personal transformation, and I can't say enough good things about her. Another person that I consistently listen to her podcast is Lori Harder. So I guess if I had to summarize what I go to Lori Harder for, it's taking back my power. And she is all about that and stepping into your personal greatness. So her backstory is really interesting, and I love when an influencer's backstory helps you see that they're a real person with real struggles, and maybe their path was even more difficult than usual. So her guidance encourages us to release limiting beliefs and embrace our true potential. What that means is if we can reclaim our power, because we tend to give our power away, we can create the life we desire and then ultimately inspire others to do the same. A lot of the people I follow now were actually guests on her podcast, which is called Earn Your Happy. When I listen to her podcast, whether she's hosting solo or she's with her husband on the podcast or she's interviewing guests, I find myself feeling positive, energized, and absolutely inspired to keep going in my business. So she's another one who feels to me like I'm chatting with a good friend or a really good positive mentor when I listen to her. Next, I want to talk about someone who has more newly influenced me with her book called Worthy, and her name is Jamie Kern Lima. So she shares her personal journey of overcoming self-doubt and the internal struggles of unworthiness. Her story is quite amazing. She built and created It Cosmetics, and it's just so inspiring because she basically started with nothing. The stories that she tells about how she came up through the ranks is really incredible and inspiring. So what she does is, with her book Worthy, she gives us tools to recognize our inherent worth, help us break through those limiting beliefs and achieve our dreams. And she gives incredible examples of how she navigated difficult situations as well. And for me, growing up in a home where self-worth was challenged by a lot of unpredictable and unhealthy dynamics, her book really inspired me to embrace my value and trust my own potential. So it's a profound reminder that your worth isn't dependent on external validation. It's already within you. So check out her book, Worthy. It's actually really beautiful too. There are so many more books and podcasts and influencers that I want to list, but my voice is not having it anymore. So I'm going to wrap up this episode pretty quickly here. But before I go, I want to share some personal growth resources that have been instrumental in my journey. So as I've mentioned before on this podcast, my experience with having a life coach personally, going to counseling, and then also going through trauma spotting therapy, which was entirely life-changing. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the tools that I use consistently, practically every day. So for increasing my self-awareness, I use the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, and this has helped me a ton. I really love the Personal Impact Report because it goes into great detail about how my natural tendencies show up in my behaviors, especially when I'm in a hurry or when I'm feeling stressed. And it also outlines my strengths and assets as a human being, what I bring to the world, and ways to maximize my personal gifts, who I was born to be, who I came here to be. I love it so much that I became a certified practitioner in 2015, and I've taught hundreds of people how to understand themselves as well as how to understand others. It gives you a lot of insight into why people do the things they do and how you can navigate around that. So connect with me for more information on this if you're interested, because I could talk about it all day, and there's just so much value to this tool. I think everybody would benefit from it. For daily meditations, I highly recommend the Insight Timer app. It's not a paid sponsorship by any means. It's just something that I use every day and I want to share. It's easy to use. It's got a meditation topic for whatever you're looking to meditate on. It's got a habit tracker, which is relatively new for this app, but it really helps motivate you to not miss a day, and I just love it. Also, for relaxation and better sleep, I would recommend checking out YouTube videos for different things like sleep hypnosis. You can even do like sleep hypnosis that help build your confidence. And I also go to YouTube for ASMR videos, which to me are incredibly relaxing. So these tools help me stay grounded, help me stay relaxed, and help me stay focused on my personal growth. I will say ASMR is not for everyone. Some people love it, like me, and some people really hate it. I personally don't understand how anyone could hate it since I love it so much, but I guess there are some aspects or styles of ASMR that I don't gravitate to, so I can try to understand the opposite of how people don't quite get it. So that is a snapshot into what my favorite personal development tools have been and still are. I want to thank you for joining me on this journey of personal growth and transformation. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who might need a little extra inspiration today. If you've got recommendations for inspiring people to follow, send me a message. I'm always looking for fresh inspiration. In fact, my hairstylist recently turned me on to Jefferson Fisher, who is a podcast I'm now listening to and following on Instagram. with some amazing tips and tricks on how to just navigate daily communication with people. So that's another one that I will probably talk about later on in a different episode. And by the way, check out the show notes for a list of the books that really rocked my personal development world. That's all I've got for you today. So until next time, please be kind to your mind. Thanks so much for joining me on this episode of Embrace Your Inner Boldness. I hope you found inspiration and actionable tips to help you live more confidently. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss out on the latest insights and empowering stories. Please take a moment to also leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and be able to continue bringing you more content that uplifts and motivates. Empowering yourself and/or your team starts with embracing your inner boldness. When we stop playing small, we open the door to limitless potential. Remember, the only limit to your greatness is the one you set for yourself. Stay bold, stay fearless, and let's make this journey unforgettable.